Good morning, students. So today we are going to revise our next topic, and our next topic is the life cycle of gymnosperms. Student, you have seen so many gymnosperms plants in your surroundings when you visit a hill station. So generally, such type of plants they comes in your contact having needle shape leaves, and these plants they are generally found in the hill stations or mountain areas. And I have shown you here the picture of two types of gymnosperms. One species is of pinus and another species is of cycas. So this first picture is of a pinus plant, which is commonly known as a pine tree. And the second picture is of a cycas. So what is the basic difference between the two pictures? That this cycas plant, it is unbranched, whereas the pinus plant or pinus tree, it is generally branched type of tree having so many branches, and it is very busy, very much visible to you. These woody cones that are present on the branches of these pine trees. And look at their leaves. These leaves are the needle shaped leaves. So why these leaves are the needle shaped leaf? Because these plants they are generally found in the mountain areas or hilly areas. So it has a lot of rainfall, but that rainwater it generally run off from the slopes, and because of this the deficiency of water it remains in their habitat. And in order to prevent the loss of water through transpiration, these gymnosperm plants they generally have needle shaped leaves. And two more adaptations that are also found in these gymnosperms. One is that they have a thick waxy cuticle present over the epidermal layers. And second one is they are stomatas. They are also succulent stomatas that are deeply embedded inside the cells, so that the loss of water can easily minimized by these plants. Okay, student, in case of a cycas, the branches are not visible. A bunch of leaves they arises from the single point of the stem. So these are unbranched type of trees. Student, first of all, we are going to revise the habit and habitat of these gymnosperms. So I have already discussed that these gymnosperms are the plants in which the ovules, they are not enclosed by any ovary wall. That means their seeds, they are not covered. Because you know that ovules are a seed and ovary is actually the fruit. As in case of angiosperms, you have learned in class 10th that these ovules, they are covered by ovary wall. That is, the seeds are enclosed inside the fruits. But in case of gymnosperms, these ovules or seeds, they are naked and remain exposed before as well as after fertilization. Second point is the seeds that develop post fertilization are not covered. I have already discussed they are naked and they are easily visible on their, you can say, you can easily see the seeds of these plants. Gymnosperms, they have all type of plants. The trees may be of a medium size, tall trees are also there, and then shrubs are also there. So one of the example of the tallest species or tallest tree among the gymnosperm is the giant redwood tree, Sequoia. So this giant redwood tree, Sequoia, it is the tallest tree which is actually the species of these gymnosperm plants. And if we want to study about their roots, then you always learn that their roots, they are the tap roots. And you are well familiar with the tap root system, that in a tap root system, the main root is known as the primary root. And from this primary root, so many lateral roots arise as secondary roots, tertiary roots, etc. So the main root, primary root, it lives for longer time, and secondary and tertiary roots, they arise from the primary root. So taproot system, as it is a general character of all terrestrial plants, so these trees also have taproot system. And one very important thing about the roots, that these roots, they have fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza. It is a kind of a symbiotic association in which the fungal hyphae they covers the root of these trees, and both of these they live symbiotically. That means they are benefited from each. So this mycorrhiza association can be actomycorrhiza or it can be endomycorrhiza. So actomycorrhiza is a kind of mycorrhizal association where the fungal hyphae remains over the surface of the roots. But in case of endomycorrhiza, these fungal hyphae they penetrate the root cells and they gets accumulated in the cortical cells of the roots. In case of pinus, we find such type of mycorrhizal association. But in case of cycas, here specialized type of roots are present and these roots are called the coralloid roots. And these coralloid roots, they have nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. As the name itself indicates that they are fixing nitrogen, that's why they called as nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. They make nitrogen available to the plant. Yes, student, regarding their stem, both type of conditions are present. Either the stems they are branched as in case of pinus and citrus, or they may be unbranched as in case of cycas. And if we see their leaves, then leaves are of two types. It may be simple leaves or it may be compound leaves. And among the compound leaves, these leaves are actually the pinnate compound leaves. Now the term pinnate compound leaves is very much clear to you because you have learned the chapter morphology. And you know that when the lamina of the leaves, it divides into so many incisions. And all of these incisions, if touch the midrib and develops in the form of a leaflet, then such type of leaves are known as the pinnate compound leaves. So in case of cycas, these pinnate leaves, they persist for few years, but in some other species, it lives for many years. Yes, student leaves, they are well adapted and they can easily handle the extremes of temperature, humidity, as well as weight. And I have already discussed that in case of conifers, the needle-like leaves, they are present. And why they are needle-like? Because they have to reduce the surface area in order to prevent the loss of water that happens by the process of transpiration. Besides these, they also have thick cuticle, which is a waxy layer, which are present over the epidermis. And the stomatas, they are also the second type of stomatas. That means they are deeply embedded in the cells of the leaves. Why they are deeply embedded? Again, to reduce the loss of water through transpiration. Yes, student, now we are going to revise the reproduction, how it happens in case of gymnosperms. So always remember our gymnosperm species are heterosporous in nature. That means how many type of spores are formed? Two type of spores are formed and these spores are haploid. So they may be haploid microspores or haploid megaspores. So all of these spores, they are formed inside special type of structures which are known as sporangia. And inside the sporangia, as you have learned in case of pteridophytes, that inside the sporangia, what is present? So inside the sporangia, spore mother cells are present. Okay, student, as I have used the term heterosporous, this means if two type of spores are formed, then when you see the sporophyte of the gymnosperm, it is visible in the form of a tree. It has true roots, a true stem, and true leaves. And here the leaves are also of two types, and variations are seen in leaves according to their size. Some leaves, they are smaller in size. They are known as the microsporophylls, and some leaves, they are larger in size, and they are known as the megasporophylls. So some branches, they contain smaller leaves called microsporophylls, and some branches, they contain larger leaves called megasporophylls. Now, student, what happened on the branches where microsporophylls or smaller size leaves are present? At the stage of reproduction, these branches, they bear specific type of cones which are known as the male stabuli or the male cones. Student, these male cones are actually formed by the folding of these microsporophylls in case of the male branch. And in case of female branch which contains the megasporophyll, some of the megasporophyll leaves, they fold together and they later modify to form the cones. Initially, these cones are soft, but later they become the woody one. So on the branches which contains microsporophylls, male stabuli are there, and on the branches which contains megasporophyll leaves, here the female stabuli they get born. Now when you open this male stabuli, then what you see, there is a structure present inside, and that is known as microsporangia. And when you open this microsporangia, then cluster of cells are present. And these cluster of cells which are now ready to go into cell division, they are known as the microspore mother cells. Okay, student, these microspore mother cells, because they are the mother cells of the spores, so these microspore mother cells, they undergo meiotic division. And after meiosis, they form so many microspores or pollen grains. But these pollen grains, they are not properly developed. That's why these pollen grains, they later form the reduced type of male gametophyte. So that's all about the male parent. Now we are going to tell you about the female branch. Now you know that on the female branch, the larger leaves are present, and these larger leaves, they are actually known as the megasporophylls. And the megasporophylls, they are the leaves, and on this branch, female cone it later bears. So these female cones or stabuli, when you open these female cones or stabuli, what you see the megaspore mother cells inside the megasporangia. The student must remember where this structure, which is megasporangia, which is present inside the cone, it is actually the ovule. So inside the ovule, you have learned in angiosperms what is present, nucellus tissue is present. So not all the cell of this nucellus tissue, they are undergoing cell division. Only some cluster of cells of this nucellus tissue, they behave as megaspore mother cells. So these megaspore mother cells, they are actually differentiated from one of the cell of the nucellus. Now what happened? This megaspore mother cell, it later divide meiotically and form how many megaspores? 4 megaspores. And all of these 4 megaspores, they are enclosed within the megasporangium, which is actually the ovule. Now what happened? Out of these 4 megaspores, 3 megaspores they degenerate and 1 megaspore remains or survives. So this surviving megaspore, it later develops into a multicellular female gametophyte. Now what is present inside this multicellular female gametophyte? So here inside the multicellular female gametophyte, 2 or more archegonia are present. And you know the structure of archegonia, that these archegonias, they are flask shape in structure, and each of these archegonia contains the egg cell. Now what happened in case of these male branches? Now when the wind blow, the microspores or the pollen grains which represent the reduced male gametophyte, they flow in the wind, they comes in contact with these archegonias. They enter into the archegonia, they come in contact with the egg cell, diffused with the egg cell, and what happen? A diploid structure is formed inside the archegonia, and that is known as the zygote. Now this zygote, where the development does not start, but here the zygote, it later changes into embryo. So what you see that the embryo, which is develops from the zygote, it is now present inside the archegonia, and the archegonia is itself present inside the ovule. But that ovule is not covered by anything. And this ovule, it later form the seeds. And you already learned in your previous class that inside the seed, what is present? Embryo is present. So here also inside the ovule, archegonia is there, and inside the archegonia, what is present? Embryo is present. So this ovule, it later becomes seeds, but the seeds are not covered. So that's why these plants are known as gymnosperms. The word gymno means naked and sperma means a seed. Those plants which have naked seeds, they are the gymnosperms. Okay, student, that's all about the life cycle of the gymnosperms. I am quite hopeful that the life cycle is clear to you. After this, in my upcoming lecture, we are going to revise the topic angiosperms. We have already studied this topic in 10th class in brief, but now we are going to study this topic in detail. So please revise the life cycle of this gymnosperm once again. And if you have any doubt, so send me your doubt and please go through the chapter. Have a nice day, student. Thank you.